Hello and welcome to the Emerging Consciousness Global Online Festival, a kaleidoscope of voices and perspectives on awakening. Here we are gathering with leading transformative coaches, cultural creatives, visionary artists, an eclectic mix of wisdom keepers blended with colorful new voices in order to create a catalyzing space where curious people can come for fearless and experiential learning. Thank you for being a part of this transpersonal journey to liberate minds, elevate consciousness, and activate the farthest reaches of human potential so that we can co-create a more evolved and peaceful world. I am Tami Mensh, transformative life and spiritual business coach, founder of the Kaleidoscope Lounge and Coaching, and creator and host of this event. I serve people on a journey to fullness of expression, joy, authenticity, and deep wisdom. Those brave souls who sense that change is imminent and long to connect what makes them feel most fully alive and the gifts that they were born to bring into this world. And that's what this event is all about. And today I'm here to welcome one of those visionary artists, Krista Forrest. Hi, Christa.
Hello.
Welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
I'm just going to tell everybody a little bit more about you that people are not familiar with you yet.
Okay.
Christa is a visual artist specializing in oil, acrylic, mixed media art. After spending 20 years in a finance career, she decided to follow her true passion to becoming a full-time artist. Go, Krista. Krista spends her time sharing her passion with others, teaching others to be creative and exploring the world's landscape, recreating it onto canvas. Her work is a mixture of realism, exploration, experimentation, and pure fun. She recently began creating a detailed and expressive goddess series where she incorporates the divine feminine and illustrates the strength many women struggle to connect with in their daily lives. And Krista hopes to encourage everyone to unleash their inner goddess through her artwork. That's pretty incredible.
Thank you.
And today you're going to talk with us about how your mistakes are your growth.
Yes.
Yeah,
Definitely.
tell us a little bit about that.
So, a lot before COVID, I used to teach outside of the home. And one of the things that, people would meet me for the first time is say, I don't have a creative bone in my body, or I can only draw a stick figure. And, I'm the person that tries to change that narrative because everyone is creative in their, it's like, all you have to do is get a piece of paper and a pencil and we can draw something. We're all creative beings. We're all born to be creative. Something happens in a certain age where we lose that creativity. And I think as adults, we need to refine that inner child that we had, that inner spirit that we had when we were maybe 4, 5, and tap back into that. And so one of the things I like to do is change the narrative. People are always worried about making mistakes. If I put that mark on that piece of paper, what if I mess it up? I'm too scared to try that class. I'm too scared. I'm going to mess it all up and it's going to look horrible. And I try to change that narrative. And I try to, make it kind of like, okay, it's okay if you mess up. It's just growth. You get a new piece of paper and you start again. It's kind of like how you learned how to ride a bike. You're going to fall, you're going to get back up, and you're going to do it again. And then eventually you're riding the bike and you don't need training wheels and you don't need anyone to help you. So if you keep doing it and doing it, you will notice that you get better and better as you move along. And so I'm really big on keeping a sketchbook because you can see your growth. You just kind of turn the page and you see your growth kind of appear. So that's kind of where I am right now in my teaching practice, is just kind of take a mistake and look at it as growth rather than a mistake.
What a great way to approach everything in life, you know, and to be able to practice it on the paper. You know, it's just paper, right? Why are we putting so much pressure on ourselves, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's a piece of paper, it's a canvas, and you can rip it out and you can do it again, or you can keep doing it over and over again. It's like anything you do, your job or you know, whatever hobby or whatever you do, you have to keep practicing and doing it over and over again. I forget, I don't know if it's 10,000. If you do something 10,000 times, you master it.
Maybe, yeah.
I know there's a book about that, but if you keep doing something a certain amount of time, you've actually mastered that craft. So you just have to accept the mistakes. They're okay. They're not the end of the world. You just kind of do it again.
That means that you're pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, and
Yes.
you know, that's a great thing.
Yes.
So yeah, so how do you use creativity in your, you know, your daily life?
Well, it's my job.
Yeah.
It's what I do for a living. So every day I'm doing something creative, either working on a commission or creating a course. You know, it's hard because it is my job. I don't get to do it for myself that often. So I try to keep a consistent sketchbook practice where I'm actually doing something, whether it's doodling or whether it's just kind of scratching color or whatever it is. Or even free writing. I'll sit there and just kind of write kind of without, you know, thinking. Mindless writing, I call it. You know, just trying to do something creative that's for me on a daily basis. And that's what kind of keeps me in that balanced state so that I'm not veering too far on one end and veering too far on the other. You know, if I'm not creating, I get kind of, you know, I get that anxiety starts creeping in, or I'm not doing something to nourish what I'm truly passionate about.
Right. So your soul's like, wait a minute, you know, I need to be exercised a little bit here.
Yeah.
Right. I need to come out. I need to flow. I get that. I get that. So where does that come from though? That creative inspiration? What's that source for you?
I mean, I've always been creative. I've always been, and then, you know, I kind of let it go because I had kids and I had to, you know, do adult stuff. And, you know, I always found myself when I wasn't in this creative mind, when I was working in finance and kind of doing, you know, adulting type things, you know, taking care of a house and clean all, you know, family, mom stuff. Um, I felt a little bit more angrier, or I would always yell at my kids, or I'd always kind of deal with a situation in more of a negative way. And when I started creating again, I took a class and I hadn't painted in like years, like 20 years. And it was almost like I had been malnourished, or I had been, you know, thirsty, or you know, I hadn't had a drink of water in days. And once I started craving again, it was kind of like that first drink of water when you haven't, or that first bite of food that you haven't, if you know, you haven't eaten in days. And I felt like a completely different person. And I knew that that was where I needed to be. That was what I needed to be creating. And I had stopped doing that for a very long time. So it's something that's inside. It's something that I need to do. And I find that I stopped yelling at my kids. I stopped, you know, when something stressful happened, I had an outlet. I created an outlet for myself, and creating was that outlet, that I had someplace to go if I was feeling, you know, frustrated, or I had a lot of anxiety, or a lot of, you know, too many things were happening all at once. I had a place to go. I had a space to go, to kind of let all that out. So it comes from the soul. And that's why I call my practice Creative Souls art, because it's very soulful. It comes from inside. That can be a good thing or a bad thing too, because that inner critic comes in and starts telling you what to do. But I definitely feel more, you know, my kids are older now, so, but, you know, I don't yell. I don't get, you know, I don't get that feeling anymore. I feel a little bit more calmer in my daily practice. So, you know, my husband always says you have to find an outlet, and I think everybody needs to find that outlet to create space to let go when things are getting too much, when things are kind of getting too heavy.
Mhm, mhm. And I love that you do that, you know, for people, because like my clients, just like you find, people are like, I'm not creative, and we're all creative. Our life is a creation.
I mean,
Everything that we do is a creative act of bringing something.
creativity can be, you know, your yoga practice, right? Creativity could be your meditation practice. It could be cooking, knitting. It can be anything. Creativity isn't just drawing and painting. It can be going out for a walk and, you know, listening to the birds. I mean, it doesn't have to be you sitting with a pencil and a piece of paper drawing. You know, that's why I like to. It is creativity, but it's your outlet. It's your way of kind of leaving this physical world and kind of creating this kind of this space of you know, mindfulness, and, you know, to expand your practice that way. And it's your you know, it's your door, your portal to get away.
It's not the product. It's the
Yeah.
it's the process of creating, and that joy and of expression that comes through. And so, you know, what do you say to your inner critic when it's saying to you, "Oh, this is not good enough," you know, or you know, or even judging, even it is good or it's not good. Even saying something is good is still a judgment, you know.
It happens all the time. I mean, and even though I paint, and, you know, most people are like, oh, that's beautiful, and I'm, you know, I can see every flaw in everything that I've done. But it happened recently with the painting behind, that, you know, I'll share that moment, because I was called to create the painting of Kamala in like 5 days. I only had 5 days to do it. And, you know, usually I don't do commissions of actual people, because the pressure, there's too much pressure to getting it to look like that person. And so I don't like having that pressure. So usually I don't do them. I don't do them all the time, unless I'm, you know, unless I'm good friends with them. So I agreed to do it because they offered me a really good amount of money. So I was like, okay, I'll do it. And I was in the zone. I was in a zone, and it's rare that I get into a zone where I just paint and everything falls into place and everything works. So when I was done with her, I was like, this looks good. This is good. But then I had to email it to the creative director and the CEO of the magazine. And that's when I fell apart.
When you put it
Because I
out
was so scared that they weren't going to like it. Either they weren't going to like it, they were going to say this isn't what we were looking for. Everything, every negative thing that I could think of just fell right on my lap from that, when I had to press that send button. And I didn't want to send it.
all the things that you teach other people you are experiencing.
I was so fearful to send this photo of the painting, even though I felt, yeah, I did a really great job. Everything flowed. I was in this, the energy was just there. I was terrified because I felt like they were going to say, nope, this is this isn't gonna work. So I finally sent it, and then, then the anxiety got bigger and bigger. They didn't get back to me right away. So now I'm thinking all the other feelings, they don't like it, they haven't gotten back to me. It was just a horrible couple days. Thinking that they hate it. They absolutely hate it. They're not going to put it on the cover. I did all this work and now I'm not going to get paid. So it was very difficult for me to pull out positive energy at that point. Of course, everything worked out and they loved it. They said it was excellent. And he sent me the cover and it was beautiful. But all that negativity that hit me, and I've been doing this for a while, and and I teach it, and it still hit me. It still happens. So it's a difficult, it happens to me all the time. And I try to, teach others that, it's going to work out, just let it go. That inner critic, just talk to, but it still happens. And sometimes you just have to sit and just kind of take a deep breath, and accept whatever happens.
Right. And
Whether it's, but you can't sit and think and shut down your daily life because you're obsessing over this one little thing. And I did, and I admit I did. It was a horrible couple of days waiting for that to see the cover. And will I do it again? I probably
there's the answer right there.
but but when I started the story, I don't do a lot of commissions because the pressure is too great for me. And that's fear for me. That's fear and perfection. And I turn down a lot of jobs because I'm too fearful to move forward. So there's fear preventing you from, making money or getting a job, or that's what's stopping me. So I need to work through that. That's my inner critic speaking a little too loudly. And I need to work through that. How I work through that is to just kind of be like, okay, what the hell? I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to jump off the diving board and I'm just going to go. I don't care if I belly flop. I don't care if I'm just going to go for it. Whatever happens, happens. And maybe I need to do more of that and just kind of think, okay, I'm just going to do this. And same thing with me moving across the United States. It was like everything, all I thought of is everything can go wrong instead of thinking about all the things that can go right. And that inner critic is dangerous because it prevents you from moving forward. It prevents you from doing stuff. And so I think one of the things I try to teach in my practice and to others is to embrace the fear. It's okay. It's okay that you go through that because we all do. We're all human. But every once in a while, just kind of jump off the ledge. Just do it. And not worry about the outcome.
Right.
And, it doesn't have to be a big thing. Maybe do something small, and maybe, and work your way up to the big things. But, you don't have to do it all the time. You can be scared of things. It's okay to be scared. But every once in a while, just jump off the diving board and just go for it.
Right. And I think about how even when you were describing the picture of Kamala Harris, when you were painting it, that you said it was all flowing. I felt so good in it. You were capturing her essence and enjoying the process. And then when it came time to put it out there in the world, that's when the fear and you let it go. And you said, I'm going to
press send. I did. I didn't, none of this, I wouldn't, that would have been really horrible. That would have been fear taking over. So I finally pressed send. So, every so often press send and just let it go.
Right. Oh, that's a great example. I would love to share with the people watching a little bit of you demonstrating your
Sure,
process of
sure.
your, show us your daily practice and how it works, and let us see you creating and what that's like.
All right. Well, I'm going to change the camera so you can see
Okay, all right,
my little creative space here, and then I'll go over all my materials. All right.
wonderful.
Hopefully I get this right here. Okay. All I see is you.
I see it. It's perfect.
You see it? Okay.
Yeah. Mhm.
Because I got the tiny little screen on mine.
That's
All
good.
right, so this is kind of my little space here. I light a candle to get me, into, to create the energy here. And this is my sketchbook, and this is a brand new sketchbook. I've only done a few stuff on here. I have to admit, I have a sketchbook addiction. I am a sucker for a blank sketchbook, and I'm constantly buying. I have a pile of sketchbooks and none of them are filled up, but my goal hopefully this year is to fill up at least one. So I wanted to share, before I go open my new sketchbook, I wanted to share this my bedside sketchbook. And you notice right here, it's just a cheap composition book. That's probably like $1. So you don't need to have expensive art supplies. It's really not necessary. And this is just a lined notebook that I keep at my bedside table whenever I'm feeling, like I need to do my creating, I need to let go. I will kind of doodle in my sketchbook, and all I need is markers or some colored markers. Gel pens are really good. And I'll just kind of share my little journey here. I haven't finished this book, but, and I create these little wonky doodle faces. And I can use crayon. This was kind of crayon. I got a set of Crayola crayons of all the skin colors, skin tones of the world. That was really cool here. I can use watercolor. Sometimes I, am gravitated towards circles. So sometimes I do some circle work here. And I just kind of sit and mindlessly doodle. And if you're never really sure what to doodle, you can go on Pinterest. And there's people that they do this all day long. So you can get so many ideas on Pinterest or Instagram. And I sit here and I create these little wonky faces. I'm not worried about drawing a perfect face. Occasionally, as I do it more and more, I get better and better at it, but I'm not worried about perfection. I don't have to worry about the fear of judgment because no one has to see it but me. This is my own little notebook, my own little sketchbook. Occasionally, I'll do some collage work too. I love to collect decorative paper and do some collage work as well. And it also becomes a little coloring book that you can return to and color in a lot of this. Here, this is all decorative paper here, and I've colored it in here. So it's just a fun little quick exercise. You can spend 5 minutes, you can spend an hour doing these lines, this line work. You can add some affirmations. And it's a lot of fun. And it's just me and a notebook, not a lot of fancy supplies. You don't have to get out all the paint. You don't have to make a mess. One of the things, because this is notebook paper, the paper is really thin. I glue 2 pages together to make it a little bit sturdier. And hopefully I can fill this up. This was the last one I did a couple days ago. So, and I'm hoping to fill it up. So there's a really simple, inexpensive way to have a daily practice. And the ebook that I'm offering kind of goes through step by step some prompts on kind of maintaining a little book like this. So I just wanted to share that.
Thank you for sharing that, Krista. I wanted to ask you, before you start drawing, tell us a little bit about the images that are coming through you in that sketchbook.
Well, I'm going to show you because I kind of play a game with myself. It's kind of just very intuitive. There's nothing really, I just kind of let the line, I let the marker kind of do its thing. I try not to think about it. So I usually play a little game. So this is kind of a little example of what I'm going to work on today. I just use some watercolor, some really, if you have kids, you probably have this in your home. A little glass of water and a brush and some markers. That's all you need. And I'm gonna kind of share how I come up with this kind of face, because it's not me sitting here drawing a face using, my guidelines and any of the training that I received to draw a face. It's just kind of creating a line, a continuous line, and creating a face with one continuous line. So I'm gonna turn the page here. And the game that I play with myself is, as soon as I put the pen onto the paper, I'm not allowed to lift it up until I'm done. Mm-hmm. So this takes away the perfection, because you can't get it perfect if you have one continuous line. You kind of have to squiggle and adjust to do that. And, it's fun. It creates a fun activity to kind of let go. We're not worried. She's definitely going to be wonky and weird looking. We know that already. So we can't look at it as perfect. And then I go around and kind of doodle around her. And then I can add some color to her as well with the watercolor. And that's what I'm going to be showing. So I get this is a micron marker, which I love using. It's like a #1 size that I really enjoy using in my sketchbook. You can either kind of go with a really intuitive flow first with your watercolor. That's one way I kind of like to let go, is just kind of get color going on, or you can doodle first and then add color. So it doesn't matter which way you go with it. You can one day do one way and next day do another way. So I'm gonna kind of start my face. I'm not gonna lift my pen. So that's the game I have to play with myself. And it comes out looking funny, so you can laugh at yourself and you can have a good time. And turn on some music and just kind of let go. And so I like to start with the eyebrow. So I have no idea what she's gonna look like, really. And I just kind of go for it. And I let it, just kind of let go of all that perfect stuff. Sometimes I have to make some twirls to kind of get it to where I need it to be. And I just kind of let whatever happens happen. So I'm letting the pen, and I'm not, if you notice, I'm not even holding the pen really tight. I'm just kind of letting the pen do the work. And I'll get a little neck in there. And there you go. And it's wonky. She looks, of course, we purposely did that to get away, to let go of all that perfect, to let go of kind of creating a perfect face. But it's a great warm up as well. And it's also, you're actually learning something. You're actually really kind of, I call it creative muscle memory. You're actually, talking to your mind or your creative mind. And, you're doing this. This is a part of your practice. This is a part of your growth. And you're telling your mind, okay, this is where the eyes go. And this is where the nose and the mouth and you keep kind of talking to your creative mind and you keep doing it over and over again, you'll notice that this gets a lot easier. And when it's time for you to actually sketch in an actual face, you know, the serious face, you'll find it a lot easier, and you're building up a lot of kind of creative self-confidence as you move along. I can give her now, I've lifted my pen, which I'm good, and I can make adjustments if I need to. You know, I can adjust. I don't want to call it fixing anything. I'm just adjusting. So that's one word. I try not to say I'm going to fix this, because that tells me I've made a mistake. I can give her some eyelashes. So I can always adjust things. And that's another thing that's really important, is to kind of change your language. You know, instead of saying I've made a mistake, you know, I need to make an adjustment, or, oh, that's just a part of it that was supposed to happen. I love doing kind of weird uplifted hair. So I'm going to actually go to the other page here and let that, and maybe give her some earrings here. And then, you know, I can kind of let go with this and just kind of do some line work. And this is where that doodling comes in, where you can just kind of doodle lines, shapes into your sketch. And if you're not sure what to doodle, I mentioned you can go on Pinterest and type doodle or Zentangles or whatever, and you can get thousands of ideas of, you know, doodling flowers, you know, what to doodle. There's an endless amount of visual on that subject on social media. And then you can just kind of do circles. You can add any type of imagery or symbolism that, you know, if you like birds, or maybe you like butterflies or fish, or whatever your symbol is, you can include that into your piece. And you can take this as, you know, like I said, this can be 5 minutes. You can spend about 2 hours sitting here doing some pretty intricate doodling. You can leave it, you can come back to it, you can add some affirmations in there as well. So you can take this as far, you know, as you want. And I'm happy to kind of provide you with some photos of my little sketchbook of doodling ideas as well. And then, you know, just a simple a watercolor. Now, watercolor is a great, you know, kind of beginner tool as well, if you think of it as in an intuitive way. It can be kind of frustrating to use, but if you're using it in more of an intuitive way, just kind of letting go and letting just color go where it wants to, it can be quite fun to kind of utilize. You just need a glass of water. Doesn't have to be an expensive brush, and, you know, this little kitty watercolor palette that I got. I think I've had it since my kids were little. And here you can have fun. You can paint her red. You can paint her any color you want. You can add, you know, blend colors. You can get the spray bottle out and blend, create texture. You can go back, let it dry, and add layers. You can go back and continue doodling when you're done with the watercolor. And here I just like to kind of, the more watercolor that you add, the darker it gets. So you can add some blending in that as well. She looks kind of funky right now. I'll give her some purple hair here.
Mm.
So this is a great way to kind of utilize your creativity here, to kind of practice daily, because it's something that you can do daily. You know, you can break out the watercolors once a week, maybe, if it's too messy for you. But just a marker and a piece of paper. And then if you do it in your sketchbook, you can kind of go back and see your growth, you know, as you have, you know, moved through this kind of creative journey. And there is no mistakes here, really. You can't make any mistakes, because this is just kind of fun. This is just kind of letting go. This is your kind of practice and your growth. This is how you grow. You practice on a daily basis. The more you practice, the better you get. And it's just kind of accepting. It's helping you accept the wonkiness of your creativity, you know, because you have to accept it. Because if you're just kind of doing one continuous line, I mean, I'm sure there's somebody that can sit there and do it perfectly, but most of us can't. And another game you can play is use your non-dominant hand to do this as well. Now that's an even, you know, harder game. That's a challenge right there. But it's just fun. It's a fun way to kind of let go and just kind of see what happens. And then in the end, you know, you can continue on. Find one where I've really doodled. You can really continue on and create all these fun little, you know, doodles. You can go back and color it in. And it kind of builds up that creative, you know, it's just a great practice to do on a daily basis. And it can be little doodles or big ones. And you can spend as much time as you want working on her. So, you know, I just think it's just a great way to maintain a creative practice.
Wow, it's I love just watching your pen and your brush just, you know, cover the page. And I understand how meditative it must be for you with all the doodles, and it's just as meditative for me to watch you do it. What is, you said that, you know, you go back and you look and you learn, you know, you see your growth over your books. And what are these images that come out from your intuition? What do they tell you? What do they teach you about yourself?
Just, it's kind of, it's my playful side. You know, I always talk about balance. We have to have balance. We can be serious. We can, you know, but this is me just kind of letting go. I don't have to share it, even though I share it. I personally share my work, but I don't have to share this with anybody. I can close my book and it can just be for me. So I don't have to worry about judgment. The inner critic really has no power here because it's just for me. But I've let go of that perfection because of these little games that I play. You know, I kind of have to put the control into my tools rather than in me. And whatever, you know, it's my jumping off the cliff thing. It's my letting go. You know, I have to trust the process and trust that it's going to, you know, something's going to get created, and it will. But when I look back on them, I always love going back and looking at my sketchbooks. And it's almost like I can tell a story. And it's one thing that I'm working on now is creating a narrative to go with, you know, opening this book here and, you know, being able to tell the story of its growth. And that's something I'm personally working on now. But when I do look back, I'm like, oh, wow, that's really, I enjoyed what I did there, you know, or it's just kind of feels, it's a nourishment, I guess. It's the only way I can explain it. And it's just, I just love going back and forth in these books. So one day I'm going to fill it up.
And I know that you hope to encourage people to, unleash their inner goddess. And would you say that these are a version of yourself that you're painting, or other women, or, are who are these goddesses coming through?
I mean, they're just more of an intuitive, kind of more of an intuitive story. It's just kind of, they're emerging on their own. So I'm not really thinking, okay, I'm gonna do a self-portrait. You can do that too. That's another kind of playful exercise you can do another time. Um, but they're just kind of these emerging faces that just kind of emerge from your playfulness, and from your time sitting here in your creative space. So they were created by you. You created this image just by letting go and letting it happen. And that's the best way to create. It's so much, it's such a better experience to create with that feeling of just kind of letting go and letting the process do the work, and you just kind of stepping back, and trying not to think about it too much, trying not to stress about it, because that brings the inner critic in, and just kind of letting go and letting something emerge. And a lot of my courses, I will kind of do this whole intuitive flowy play with watercolor and paint and my hands. And it's just getting yourself warmed up, and it's learning how to let go before you get into the face, because that's where the anxiety starts coming. So you've already kind of allowed that letting go process to take place. And occasionally that face will emerge from that playfulness. So, I just think it's so much more fun to create in this intuitive way rather than sitting there planning out every single detail. And that's stressful. This is play.
So much more accessible to people, and these lessons, these life lessons are playing out, on the paper, and you get a chance to, really take what's on the inside and, like you said, let it emerge through playfulness, to come out into the outside. And
Yeah.
that really is emerging, consciousness.
I'm gonna change the camera so we
Yeah,
can.
which, let's see your face again. Your real face. There you are. Oh, that's beautiful. I love, thank you for letting us into your creative process and the world that you're using and going through and exploring to
And
get
it's just a simple way to kind of play. And, so people get so caught up in, okay, I got to create something. I got to, get the paints out. I got to get it all set. And, then once you do it, it's like, okay, now you've got this blank piece of paper, and you're scared to put a mark on the piece of paper. And here, if you make these little games with yourself, you can tap into that. I always call it, you're tapping into your 4-year-old self again.
Yeah.
And you're kind of, if you ever watch a 4-year-old create, it's, really interesting to watch a 4-year-old create and then watch, children create as they get older. The 4-year-old just doesn't care. They just kind of, and if you tell them that it's not right, they're like, no, it's right, and they don't have that inner critic hasn't been created yet.
So what, just one kind of, way to sum it all up, how can we, if we all tap into this creative, intuitive playfulness and let our creativity go without having this inner critic, stop us from living into our fullest, joy and expression, you know, how could this, what would the world look like? You know, I love to think about this. If we could do more of this.
If we were all creative, I think, wouldn't it be a happier? Wouldn't it be if we all had, because it's my outlet. So when I'm feeling frustrated, I can come here, because this is my safe space, and I can let all of it out onto my canvas. If I'm angry, I can let that out. Most creatives do that. I mean, most people. Some of the best art was created by some really, people that had issues, and they let out that issue onto their canvas, and we get to see, we get to experience that. But I mean, wouldn't the world be, I mean, we'd be more peaceful, I guess, if we allowed more creativity. I think it's really important that children spend a lot more time doing creative stuff in school rather than taking tests and doing all the, because it's, not all kids learn the same, but creativity just is a way to open your mind and look at things differently. So I find it really important. I think one of the most dangerous things is to take that away from a child, and then we forget about it as an adult. So I don't know. I think we'd all be happier people.
You said your kids are happier.
Actually, past presidents that are, our President Bush is an artist. He paints all day long. So just think, he had one of the most stressful jobs in the world, and that's all he does now is paint. I'm sure he's a happier person today.
Right on. Right on. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. Tell us a little bit about how people can learn more about you and get the free gift that you're offering.
So I gave you a link. I think you have a link, and definitely go to my website. So I have a lot of courses. What I'm working on now is something called the Goddess Project, and it's running through my Patreon account. And every week I post, it's kind of like you kind of coming into my creative world and me sharing, what I go through here in my little space right here. And each week I provide a prompt, and we go through a sketchbook, and I hope to do it every single week. And then I provide a lot of courses on there as well. So it's a personal journey through me. It's something that I'm sharing. And then I have a lot of courses that I have available, and then my YouTube. So my website has all the information about me, and the ebook, the free book that I'm providing, actually goes over, a few little prompts to get yourself going in your little 99-cent composition book.
Creative microdosing. Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing. I enjoyed.
Thanks for having me.
Time today, and to be continued, right?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Krista.
Thank you.
Bye. Let me stop the recording.